All right, Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Ruach Kodash. I'd like to say double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone, the men whom I've learned this truth from. And I would also like to say Shalom and salutations to the elect that's out there preaching this word in truth and sincerity. I'm the brother Shaquat, and I'm one of the brothers from the branch of Great Millstone, Montreal, back with another lesson. And this lesson that I'm going to be getting into today, I'm going to entitle it Perfecting Your Craft, right? And that's pretty much an inspiration from a quote by uh, Bruce Lee, right? And the quote or the phrase that Bruce Lee said is, so okay, let me just pull it up. In Google, it says the famous quote is by Bruce Lee, who said, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." All right. So that was the inspiration of this lesson. We're gonna got some precepts together, some some thoughts, and when it comes to it's completed to where it's edifying to the elect. All right. So yeah, being in this truth, this ministry, um, each and every brother has their particular skill and talent. Right. That's what it says. That's what yeah, in the book of Matthew, the parable of the talent goes into a portion that you've been given, and that portion could be uh anything, man. Any talent that the Lord gives has given you, but you just have to uh, you know ask Yahweh Shemashai to reveal it to you to see what your talent is, or other brothers can point it out to you as well. As well. Like, hey, brother, I noticed that this is your niche. This is what you're good at. This is something that I noticed that you like going into. Maybe hone in on that. All right, and getting that information uh, is beneficial to you as an individual, man, because then you'll know. Okay, let me stay within this pocket. All right, we're sticking to this quote here by Bruce Lee. All right. Also, being in this truth, we're to be skilled in the scriptures. All right, we're to master the scriptures. All right. We're to be page masters. I remember one of the elders had a channel named that. The elder from Mississippi, Khazaki Allah, the elder Khazaki Allah. Right, he had a YouTube channel named Page Masters, man, and that's what the prophets are. They're masters of pages, which they're masters of the scriptures, right? And that's what we are to do. Because you know we are scholars for Yahweh Shai, man. We're the right scholars, right? We're the true biblical scholars. And being biblical scholars, we're supposed to be studied and learned in these scriptures, right? Um, and once again, you know, really understanding and really studying these topics to their core, right? And that's where the Bruce Lee quote um, jumps in, right? Because um, just studying one thing once is not enough. You have to keep going over it over and over. You have to keep going over the same thing over and over and over again, right? And we notice that with the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, right? They push that mindset. Yo, you have to be repetitious. You have to keep going into things, no matter what. Even if you went through them and you understand it, you still have to refresh your memory, right? Just like the breakdowns, you still have to refresh your memory, until it is fully implemented in your mind, right? And the elder apostle Kabar, something that he often mentions um, is repetition, man. Repetition is the father of skill. That's a phrase that I heard from the elder apostle Gabar that he mentions a lot. And it's facts, right? Repetition is the father of skill, right? And hence the Bruce Lee quote, right? Just because you practice 10,000 kicks once doesn't make you a master at those kicks because you've only done it once, you know. But if you practice one kick 10,000 times, hey, you're pretty much skilled in that single kick, right? For example, on one breakdown, you master one breakdown and you've gone over it a million times or 10,000 times, right? A single breakdown. You'll be able to break it down to the least common denominator, man, because you've gone through that topic over and over and over and again, and you can hit it from any angle, right? You know, but that's how it's supposed to be. That's the level that we're to be at. I'm speaking to myself first and foremost, man. You know, but everything is a work in progress, and through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemashai, you know, things will, you'll figure it out. Um, so let's go from there, and I'm gonna get another phrase here, which is the phrase of the title of this lesson, which is perfecting your craft. Right? It says there are three core principles of mastery. Right? It says I'm gonna read the three, and then I'm gonna go through the definition of the three. But here, actually, there's four. So I get one, two, three, four. Right? Core principles of mastery. The first one is deliberate practice. The second one is feedback loops. The third one is deep work. The fourth one is accepting failure. So the first one, which is deliberate practice, it says push past your comfort zone, break large skills into micro skills, and focus intently on your weak spots rather than just repeating what you already do well. Right. So getting out your comfort zone. Right. Um, Comfort kills. Right. Being too comfortable, it kills you, man. Right. And that's what this whole kingdom and regime is all about. It's centered around comfort, man. And that's strategically done by Esau. To keep the people in a particular state of mind to where you're not sharp. Because if you're comfortable, you pretty much you're loose, man. You're relaxed. You're not tense. You're not. You're just in pleasure. That's the state that Esau wants the people to be in, and that's this. And he built the kingdom to pretty much generate those type of people and that kind of mind, man. You know, but as men of the Lord, we're not to be like that. We're to be opposite because our ways are not like the ways of this world or the people of this world. Our ways are of another fashion, and a part of that is us being disciplined, right? Like the Apostle Paul spoke about. Um, uh, I'm tempered in all things. You know, you know how to balance out comfort and discomfort. You know how to work with them. You know, so push past your comfort zone, break large skills into micro skills, focus intently on your weak spots rather than just repeating what you already do well, right? So self examination is a part of that too, right? Examining. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Uh, this is 2 Corinthians 13 and verse 5. Examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith, prove your own souls, know ye not your own selves, how that Yahweh Shai Hamashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. All right, so self examination, very important, being this truth, you know. take a look within, because that's what you're doing. You're looking within yourself, you know, and that's something that you have to do a lot. Being in this truth to make sure that you're on point, you have to look within and be completely honest with yourself, man. Really dig in deep. Matter of fact, let me get this real quick. In Proverbs 27, damn, my phone about to die. But Lord willing, this lesson comes out. Proverbs 27 and verse 19. As water, as in water, face answereth to face, so the heart of man to man. Right. I'm gonna read that in the NLT. It says, as a face is reflected in water, so the heart reflects the real person. So that's what you have to do when examining yourself. Really look within yourself. Dig deep in your heart, your mind, man, your love. And be honest, right? Be honest with yourself. Be like, yo, what are my strengths and weaknesses? What am I good at? What am I not good at? You know, what are some things I have to work on? What am I doing that's right? But what am I doing that's not right? That the Lord might not find pleasing. Am I studying enough? Am I reading enough? Am I watching enough videos? Am I tapped into the spirit? You know, asking yourself these questions and really asking yourself these questions, man. Taking that time out your day, just to self-examine yourself. And then once you do that, once you lay a short uh, diagram of those strengths and weaknesses, then you could work. You could progress into make working on those weaknesses. Be like, okay, I'm gonna try doing this this way. To see if I get better at that, or whatever the thing is, man. I'm gonna study this one topic for this week and see it. And I want to sharpen up on this, right? And that's also another thing. Being sharp, very important. Which very important. Matter of fact, before I keep going, since the spirit is taking it that way, um, let's get this in the book of Ecclesiastes 10. And verse 10, it says, if the iron be blunt and he do not whet the edge, then must he put to more strength. But wisdom is profitable to direct. So let me get that in the NLT or in the AMP to see what it says. I'm gonna read it in the NLT first. Ecclesiastes 10 and verse 10 in the NLT says, using a dull axe requires great strength, so sharpen the blade. That's the value of wisdom. It helps you succeed. In the AMP, it says, if the axe is dull and he does not sharpen his edge, then he must exert more strength. But wisdom, to sharpen the axe in quotation, helps him succeed with less effort. Ooh. Right. So staying sharp, right? And what's a great way to stay sharp? That I believe it was Yahweh Shai that mentioned it. He said, um, I don't know if it was Slakia. Let me see. Iron. Yeah, it wasn't. It was in the Proverbs. King Solomon. Yahweh Shai. Yeah, you know. So yeah, that's a great way to sharpen is of the brothers. You know, it's iron sharpening iron. So a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. There you go. That's one way to stay sharp. But another way to stay sharp is self-examination. Examining what you're weak at, what you're strength, what you're strong at. You know, and then working on it. And another part of being sharp is what? Repetition. Going going things over and over until you master it. Studying. Studying something over and over until you get good at it. Um, reading something over and over until it sticks in your mind. But these are ways to be sharp and stay sharp. And when you're sharp, just like an axe chopping a tree, when the edge is sharp, it's easier to chop the tree. You put forth less effort. But if it's dull, guess what? You have to work harder. You have to work harder. It's gonna take you longer to chop down that tree, right? Like the precept says. So I'm gonna end it off there. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the elect. Uh, in closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahushai, Ba'ashim, Chakadash. Once again, double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Until next time, Shalom.